At the Bloomberg offices in the City of London this morning, we're joined by his Chief of Staff. I've no idea what that really means, but he did write the manifesto, or at least big chunks of it. Danny Alexander,
Good morning.
Welcome. Now, you're going to spend £17 billion. I'll say that again, £17 billion, essentially to take the poorest out of tax.
That's right.
How much of that £17 billion will go to the poorest?
Well, a fair chunk of it will, because what it will mean is that anyone who earns less than £10,000 will pay no income tax at all. For everyone above £10,000, up to about £100,000 where the allowance gets taken away, they'll save £700.
So what's a fair chunk? How much of the £17 billion, who you've agreed the main motivation is to help the poor, how much of that £17 billion will go?
Well,
to the poorest?
Well over £1 billion will go to the very poorest. Of course, there are people who earn below £6,500. They won't get anything from that policy.
So let me get this right.
Because they don't pay any tax. But they will be.
The very poorest won't benefit at all.
They will benefit from other policies.
And they won't benefit from this.
The poorest taxpayers will all benefit from this. Anyone who pays income tax, who earns less than £10,000, will be better off under our plans. We're the only party, Andrew, that is offering to do anything at all for people in that category.
Except you're also the only party promising to spend £17 billion. And I'm just trying to trying to establish if it's money well spent.
We are, but there's a very good reason for that,
established.
But let me just make the point.
I want to ask you the question. Is it correct that only £1 billion of the £17 billion will go to the poorest?
Well, I think it's a little bit more than that, actually.
But not much.
But where this money goes is taking 3.5 million people who currently pay income tax will pay no income tax at all. It will offer big incentives to work for people on lower incomes to do better. For people who earn above £10,000, people who I wouldn't consider to be rich or wealthy on any measure, people who earn more than £10,000 will save £700 a year each. £1,400 if it's a two-earner household. People who are struggling in the recession, who are struggling to make ends meet, this is the only policy that any party is offering to put money back into those people's pockets.
But you've pitched this as something that will help the poor. Do you accept?
It will help the poor.
Well, it may do, but it's helping the well-off a lot. It's helping the well-off a lot more.
It certainly will help the poorest.
Do you accept that the well-off, people earning 70, 80, 90,000 a year, will actually get 4 times more than the poorest 10%?
No, I certainly don't.
I've got some figures here.
I certainly don't accept
that. If you earn 90,000 a year, you will benefit to the tune of £20 a week. It's an easy sum to do. If you're in the poorest 10%,
that just isn't true.
You get £5 a week.
I don't know where you're getting that from, but that just isn't true, because our policy is to raise the tax threshold to £10,000. I think there's been some of the Labour Party's attacks on this today have implied, which we wouldn't do, that we'd also raise the higher rate threshold. We keep that at the same place. So basically, above £10,000, it's a flat rate benefit of £700 a year. Of course, if you're in the wealthier categories, then many of the tax rises that we would put in place may affect you depending on your behaviour. So if you have large capital gains, we tax you on the same basis as income. If you make large pension contributions, you'd only get tax relief at the basic rate, and so on and so forth. So the net effects would be difficult.
But the fact is that only around £1 billion of this £17 billion is going to the very poorest, the people that you say need the most help, which means that £16 billion is not going to the very poorest, and that in effect this is a massive middle-class tax cut at a time when we can least afford it. Well, the middle class will do better out of this tax cut than the poorest.
As I say, the benefit is £700 as a flat rate benefit because you're lifting the threshold.
Sure.
If you're on £10,000, a very low income, you would gain £700 a year. I think that's a significant additional amount of money that would be very welcome to those people. Frankly, people for whom Labour or the Conservatives are offering to do absolutely nothing.
But you accept that more money will go to the middle class than will go to the poorest.
I accept that.
Correct.
I accept that the benefit of this isn't just restricted to people who earn less than £10,000. People who earn £10,000 and £20,000 would benefit. People who earn £20,000 to £30,000 would benefit.
So most of the £17 billion is actually going to go to middle earners, not to the poorest.
We've always been very explicit that this is a tax break aimed at people on low and middle incomes. It's a flat rate tax break by saying that you don't pay any income tax at all until you earn more than £10,000, fully costed, fully paid for. We're ensuring that everyone from the lowest and the middle incomes who are under financial pressure, who've lost out during this recession, would gain from our policies.
So it's a middle-class tax cut as well. All right, we've established that. You say that you've got a plan to cut the deficit, and that you've explained why. could you tell, and that you would not proceed with a new Trident, and you would cancel the remaining Eurofighter planes?
Correct.
How much would these two steps save by 2014?
Well, the cancellation of Trident wouldn't save anything by 2014.
So it wouldn't. So that doesn't count.
It would, and it's not. As I'm sure you've studied the cost.
But when I interviewed Vince Cable and I said, "How would you get the budget deficit down?" One of the things he said to me is, "We would cancel a new Trident." But you've now told me that it doesn't come in till 2014.
And as you will have seen, because I'm sure you've studied the costing tables very carefully in our manifesto, we've set out 20 or so cuts that would happen over the next 2 or 3 years. We've also, let me just finish.
So why have you mentioned Trident when you now accept that it wouldn't come in until after 2014?
Because we're also setting out. Look, our plan is to halve the deficit by 2014 and then do the rest of the elimination of the deficit.
And Trident would make no contribution to that?
Do the rest of the reduction of the deficit over the following 4 years.
What about Eurofighter? So how much would that save by 2014?
That would save about £3.5 billion.
How much?
About £3.5 billion.
How much have you taken into account of the cost of cancelling the contract?
Well, because we've already fulfilled our obligations under the Memorandum of Understanding that relates to Eurofighter, it wouldn't cost anything to cancel the contract.
You're saying, contrary to all the evidence that I've seen, that you can cancel the Eurofighter contract and not pay a £1 billion penalty.
What we're talking about,
Are you saying that?
Yes, I am. What we're talking about is Eurofighter.
Then we'll test that.
Is Eurofighter Tranche 3B. Where we've already fulfilled. We had signed a memorandum of understanding with the other countries involved that committed us to buying certain numbers of planes. We've already fulfilled that. So the only purpose of going ahead with Tranche 3B is if we could find another country to sell the planes on to.
So you are saying no penalty for cancelling, correct? On the record.
I am saying that the £3.5 billion...
I mean, it's a yes or a no.
I'm saying that the £3.5 billion figure on our manifesto is an accurate representation.
And is a net figure.
It's a net figure.
All right, we shall see.
That's
and we will get on to the people of the Eurofighter contract and see if that's true, because I'm not sure that you're right. What are the emails saying?
Well, we've got a few emails here. You'll be pleased with this one. Ken Chesworth, at the beginning anyway, in Lancashire, who says, really good policies. I'd love to vote for the Liberal Democrats, except for two huge issues. The silliness over proportional representation and their coziness with the EU. I suppose they're not really changeable, are they, those particular two issues?
But we're certainly not going to change our commitment to a fair voting system, and we've always been a pro-European party, so he may be disappointed, I'm afraid.
Brian Hall in Devon says, how and where do you intend to recover the revenue shortfall from? And he's talking about the £10,000 tax threshold.
How we pay for it
that's a long answer.
Well, there's a number of things. He's welcome to study the manifesto on our website. But, I mean, we talk about changing capital gains tax, ending higher rate tax relief on pension contributions, introducing a new mansion tax, additional taxes on aviation.
OK.
Yes or no? Is education, because I've got 6 different answers from your party, is education ring-fenced or not? Yes or no?
We are not ring-fencing education. We are doing better than that. We are putting more money into education.
Right, so it's not just ring-fence, it's ring-fence plus.
Well, I think...
I'm correct.
We are putting more money into education.
OK, good, right. There we go. Now, you've had the last of the 3 main party manifestos. We've just been talking about the Lib Dems there with Danny Alexander. It'll come as no surprise to you that all 3 want to secure economic recovery, cut waste, restore trust in politics.